Right now, someone is checking their phone for the fourth time in 10 minutes, refreshing the email, recalculating the plan, rewriting the message they already sent, lying awake at 3 in the morning, running through the same scenarios on repeat, trying to find the version of events where everything stays in place. Maybe that someone is you. We live in an age of micromanagement, not just in boardrooms and corporate spreadsheets, but inside ourselves. We manage our words. We manage our image. We manage our children, our relationships, our savings, our health routines, our social calendars. We manage the future we cannot see, the people we cannot change, and the outcomes we were never designed to control. And somehow, the tighter we hold, the more slips through. This is not a failure of effort. This is not a lack of discipline. This is something older, something the ancient world understood and quietly tried to teach us. Something the Taoists called the Great Reversal. The moment you discover that the very act of gripping is what destroys what you love. This video is about that discovery. By the time we finish walking this path together, you will not simply have a new idea. You will see your anxiety differently. You will feel the difference between a clenched fist and an open hand, and you may never micromanage a moment the same way again. Stay with this. There is a man at a traffic light who is gripping his steering wheel as if tightening his hands could make the light change faster. You have seen him. You may have been him. This is the modern epidemic. Not just impatience, but the deep structural belief that reality bends to pressure. That if we push hard enough, plan thoroughly enough, and control enough variables, life will cooperate. We have been trained this way. Schools reward it. Careers demand it. Social media performs it. But ancient wisdom looked at this and said something deeply uncomfortable. Stop. The Tao Te Ching, written over 2,500 years ago by the sage Lao Tzu, contains a teaching that has unsettled empires and quieted monks. It is called Wu Wei, 2 simple syllables, often translated as non-action or effortless action. But neither translation fully captures it. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It means doing nothing that goes against the nature of what is. Watch water. It does not force its way through rock. It finds the natural path, presses where there is give, and over thousands of years, carves canyons. Water never tries. Water never doubts. Water never grips. And yet, nothing on earth is more persistent or more powerful. This is the first reframe worth pausing on. The question is not, how hard are you pushing? The question is, are you pushing in the direction that nature is already moving? Now consider the illusion beneath the pushing. We push because we believe there is a solid, fixed self that must protect its outcomes. A me that has a future to secure, a reputation to defend, a plan to execute. But early Taoist and Buddhist philosophy both point to something quietly radical. The self you are working so hard to protect is not as solid as you believe. Think of a river. You could not step into the same river twice because new water is always flowing through. And you, the one stepping in, are also never quite the same from one moment to the next. The cells in your body replace themselves. Your beliefs shift. Your values evolve. What you wanted at 22 horrifies you at 40. The self is more like a pattern in moving water than a stone on a riverbank. This matters enormously, because if the self is fluid, then the need to control its outcomes rigidly becomes absurd, like trying to stop a river by squeezing it. And physics agrees. Sir Isaac Newton's third law states clearly, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Force generates counterforce. The harder you push a wall, the harder it pushes back. The Tao knew this long before Newton wrote it down. Resistance is not the obstacle. Resistance is the message. It is the universe signaling that force is being applied in the wrong direction. And yet, most of us never hear the message. We simply push harder. There is a story, an old one, that explains why. It comes from the ancient Sanskrit collection called the Panchatantra, and it will stop you mid-sentence. Picture a dusty road in ancient India. The air is dry and warm. Crows circle lazily overhead. A Brahmin, a holy man of modest means, is walking home from the market. Under his arm, he carries a clay pot. Inside the pot, rice. Not just any rice. This is the rice given to him by a generous patron. More than he has ever been given at once. Enough, perhaps, to change his life. He sets the pot down by the road, settles into the shade of a great tree, and closes his eyes to rest. But sleep does not come. Instead, a dream begins to form. In the dream, he sees the rice clearly. He sells the rice for a profit. With that profit, he buys 2 goats. The goats multiply. He trades them for cattle. The cattle multiply further. He builds a farm. The farm grows into an estate. He hires servants. He takes a wife. They have children, strong and beautiful. He grows old, surrounded by abundance. Then one of his children does something to displease him. In his dream, furious, he reaches for his walking stick to discipline the child. He swings. His eyes snap open. The walking stick is still in his hand. The clay pot of rice lies shattered on the ground. Rice scattered across the dust. Crows already descending. The dream is gone. The rice is gone. The future is gone. And nothing was ever truly there to begin with. This is the parable of the Brahmin's dream from Book 5 of the ancient Panchatantra. Let the image sit for a moment. A man destroyed real, present abundance by violently protecting a future that existed only in his own mind. This is not just a story about a Brahmin. This is the story of every person who has ruined a relationship defending a version of it that only existed in their imagination. Every person who destroyed real peace by fighting to secure projected outcomes. Every sleepless night spent swinging at shadows. The symbolism goes deeper. The clay pot is not just food. It is your present moment, your current blessings, the actual material of your life right now. The dream is your mental projection, your plan, your controlled future. And the walking stick is force, the energy of imposition and control you wield over reality when it refuses to match the dream. The tragedy is not that the Brahmin dreamed. Dreaming is human. The tragedy is that he let the dream become more real to him than the pot in his hands. And this is the psychological wound the story is pointing at. Psychologists call it future projection, the mind's tendency to inhabit an imagined future so completely that it begins to respond emotionally and physically to events that have not yet occurred and may never occur. We lose our tempers at people for mistakes they have not yet made. We grieve losses that are not yet losses. We defend outcomes that do not yet exist. We shatter the rice. This is what micromanagement really is. It is not organization. It is anxiety wearing the costume of productivity. So how exactly does anxiety form from rigid expectation? Think of a tree in a storm. The oak that refuses to bend, the one with deep, rigid roots and no flex in its branches, is the one that splits. The willow survives. It bends so dramatically it nearly touches the ground, and then, when the storm passes, it rises again. Nothing broken, nothing lost. Anxiety is what happens when the mind becomes the rigid oak. When you build a single, fixed image of how something must unfold, and then invest your emotional safety in that image being correct. Every deviation from the plan becomes a threat. Every unexpected turn becomes evidence of danger. The mind tightens. The body tightens. And the grip intensifies. Here is the quiet truth underneath that tightening. You cannot be anxious about what you are willing to release. Anxiety requires attachment to a specific outcome. Remove the attachment, and anxiety has nothing to feed on. This is not a claim about willpower. It is a description of mechanics. The ancient Taoist concept of Pu, often translated as the uncarved block, speaks directly to this. Pu refers to the natural state of a thing before human hands shape it. A block of wood before it becomes a statue. A field before it becomes a farm. A child before the world tells them who to be. The uncarved block is not empty. It is full of potential in every direction. The moment you carve it into one specific form, all other possibilities disappear. Most of our suffering comes from carving our future into one rigid shape and then panicking when reality does not cooperate with the carving. Lao Tzu asks a simple question. What would happen if you trusted the wood to reveal its own form? This is not passivity. This is radical alignment. Consider the river again. Not as a metaphor this time, but as an instruction. A skilled river guide does not paddle against the current. They read the water. They study where it wants to go. And then they use that existing energy to move with precision and grace toward their destination. Swimming against the current does not make you stronger. It makes you exhausted. And exhaustion makes you brittle. And brittleness makes you grip harder. The river does not need your approval to flow. The current does not pause while you decide whether to accept it. The only question is whether you will orient yourself with the intelligence already moving through your life, or spend your energy fighting what you cannot change. Ancient masters spoke often of reading the Te, the inner virtue or natural power of a moment, not the power you impose on a moment. The power the moment itself is carrying. Every situation has a natural direction. Every relationship has a rhythm. Every project has a pace. The one who harmonizes with that natural direction moves farther with less effort than the one who forces their own rhythm onto everything. This is not surrender. This is intelligence. Nowhere does the illusion of control cause more damage than in how we love. We say we love someone, but then we watch them closely, track their moods, try to predict their needs, and quietly panic when they move in a direction we did not approve. We advise when they did not ask. We worry on their behalf without their permission. We hold them so firmly that they cannot breathe, and we call this devotion. It is not devotion. It is possession wearing love's clothing. There is a critical difference between possession and appreciation. Possession says, "You are mine, and I need you to remain exactly as I imagine you." Appreciation says, "I am grateful you exist in my life exactly as you are, right now." One clenches, one opens. The Taoist concept of Ziran, which translates roughly as self-so or of itself so, teaches that living things unfold according to their own inner nature. A flower does not bloom because you insist on it. A seed does not crack open because you demand it grow. These things happen of themselves, in their own time, in their own way, according to an intelligence that was present long before you arrived and will continue long after you leave. This includes the people you love. Trying to manage another person's growth is like trying to help a butterfly emerge from its cocoon by splitting it open. You think you are helping. You are, in fact, destroying the very process that would have made them strong. Ziran does not mean indifference. It means trust. It means believing that the natural intelligence of a person, a situation, a life, is wiser than your plans for it. And now, a practical exercise to make this real in your body. This is called the open hand meditation. It takes less than 3 minutes. You can do it right now or tonight before sleep. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Form 2 tight fists and hold them firmly against your thighs. Feel the tension in your hands, your forearms, your shoulders. Notice how the grip creates a whole body contraction. Now bring to mind one thing you have been trying to control. A relationship, a project, a fear about the future. Hold the fists tighter. Now, very slowly, begin to open your hands. Not all at once, finger by finger. Let the palms gradually face upward. Feel the release move from your hands up through your arms, your shoulders, your chest. In your mind, say simply, I return this to the flow. Sit with the open hands for 60 seconds. Feel the difference in your body between the fist and the open palm. This is not a metaphor. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a physical grip and a mental one. Open the hands, and the mind follows. The philosopher Alan Watts spent decades translating Eastern wisdom for Western minds. One of his most quietly radical observations he called the backwards law. He noticed that the more you pursue happiness, the more happiness retreats. The more you try to impress people, the less impressive you become. The more urgently you seek security, the more exposed and fragile you feel. Watts wrote, "When you try to stay on the surface of the water, you sink. But when you try to sink, you float." This is not a paradox. It is a description of how reality actually works when you stop fighting it. The backwards law and Wu Wei are pointing at the same truth from different directions. The mind trained in control experiences life as a series of threats to manage. The mind trained in trust experiences life as a series of currents to navigate. One exhausts, one flows. We began this journey with a man at a traffic light, gripping his steering wheel, demanding the world move faster. We walked with a Brahmin who shattered his rice defending a dream. We felt the tension of the clenched fist and the release of the open palm. We listened to water carved stone without ever trying. Every one of these images pointed at the same invitation: not to stop caring, not to stop planning, not to drift through life without intention, but to hold your intentions lightly, the way a skilled musician holds a bow, with enough pressure to guide and enough ease to let the music breathe. The universe is not your adversary. It is not a problem to be solved or a system to be conquered. Ancient traditions from China to India to Greece to the American forests all whispered the same thing in different languages. There is an intelligence moving through all living things, and the deepest wisdom is learning to align with it rather than override it. You were not designed to carry the weight of every outcome. You were designed to participate, to offer your gifts, to stay present, and to trust that the river knows where it is going. If this journey has stirred something in you, if something here felt like a memory rather than a new idea, we invite you to stay. This channel, Taoist Diary, exists for exactly these moments. Subscribe and let the next insight find you when you need it most. There is nothing to force, nothing to chase, only a path to walk, one quiet step at a time. The Brahmin's shattered rice cannot be gathered from the dust, but the next clay pot is already in your hands. Open them,